A school shooting is a form of mass shooting involving a gun attack on an educational institution, such as a school or university. The U.S. Secret Service defines them as shootings where schools are deliberately selected as the location for the attack. These shootings have sparked a political debate over gun violence, zero-tolerance policies and gun control. While educational institutions are subject to attacks by outside terrorist groups, this article mainly covers students who plan and carry out murders on their campuses. The United States has the highest number of school-related shootings. From 2013 to October 2015, there were 142 school shootings in the United States. Profiling. School shootings are a topic of intense interest in the United States. A thorough study of 37 incidents involving 41 perpetrators in the United States from 1974 through June 2000 by the Secret Service warned against the belief that a certain type of student would be a perpetrator. Any profile would fit too many students to be useful and may not apply to a potential perpetrator. Some lived with both parents in an ideal, all-American family, some were children of divorce, or lived in foster homes. A few were loners, but most had close friends. Some experts such as Alan Lippman have warned against the dearth of empirical validity of profiling methods. While it may be simplistic to assume a straightforward profile, the study did find certain similarities among the perpetrators. The researchers found that killers do not snap. They plan. They acquire weapons. These children take a long, considered, public path toward violence. Princeton's Catherine Newman has found that, far from being loners, the perpetrators are joiners, whose attempts at social integration fail, and that they let their thinking and even their plans be known, sometimes frequently over long periods of time. In addition, psychologist Peter Langman has noted that school shooters typically fall into one of three categories: psychopathic, psychotic, or traumatized. Perpetrators who run amok in schools and other public settings do also share in common a severe lapse or more pervasive deficit in the capacity for empathy coupled with their inability to contain their aggression. This may be due to their psychopathy, psychotic symptoms, and/or to a consequence of significant violent traumatization, such as that of early physical abuse, that contributes to the development of dissociative states of mind. In short, as clinical psychiatrist Daniel Schechter has written, for a baby to develop into a troubled adolescent who then turns lethally violent, a convergence of multiple interacting factors must occur. That is, every bit as complicated as it is for a tornado to form on a beautiful spring day in Kansas. Many of the shooters told Secret Service investigators that alienation or persecution drove them to violence. According to the United States Secret Service, instead of looking for traits, the Secret Service urges adults to ask about behavior. What has this child said? Do they have grievances? What do their friends know? Do they have access to weapons? Are they depressed or despondent? One trait that has not yet attracted as much attention is the gender difference. Nearly all school shootings are perpetrated by young males, and in some instances the violence has clearly been gender-specific. Bob Herbert addressed this in an October 2006 New York Times editorial. However, at least 3 female school shooting incidents have been documented, including Lori Dan of Winnetka, Illinois. Though the perpetrators of school shootings are often said to be almost exclusively white males, this is misleading. A study of 48 shooters found that though white males constituted 79% of secondary school shooters, white males were actually a minority among college and other adult perpetrators. There is significant racial, ethnic, and gender diversity among school shooters. These shootings have happened in suburban and rural school districts, and many seem to be random with random targets. Most of these shooters tend to come from two-parent households and have been found to appear on the honor roll at their schools. School shootings receive extensive media coverage and frequent in the U.S. They have sometimes resulted in nationwide changes of schools' policies concerning discipline and security. Some experts have described fears about school shootings as a type of moral panic. Such incidents may also lead to nationwide discussion on gun laws. School bullying. Bullying is common in schools and seemed to play a role in the lives of many of the school shooters. A typical bullying interaction consists of three parts: the offender, bully, a victim and one or more bystanders. This formula of three enables the bully to easily create public humiliation for their victim. Students who are bullied tend to develop behavioral problems, depression, less self-control, poorer social skills, and do worse in school. Once humiliated, victims never want to be a victim again and try to regain their image by joining groups. Often, they are rejected by their peers and follow through by restoring justice in what they see as an unjust situation. Their plan for restoration many times results in violence as shown by the school shooters. 75% of school shooters claimed or left behind evidence of them being victims of bullying, including Nathan Ferris, Edmar Apesido Freitas, Brian Head, Sung Hui Cho, Wellington Menezes Oliveira, Jeff Wise, and Adam Lanza. A growing number of studies show that students with disabilities, in general, are much more likely to be victims of bullying than students without disabilities. Cyberbullying has changed the effect of bullying in another way. In the modern era, a bully can also do so on Facebook and Twitter for the world to see. Once something is on the internet, it cannot truly be removed, further enhancing the torment. That type of bullying is infinitely easier for the perpetrator to commit and just as infinitely hard for the victim to address or escape. Psychiatric drugs. There is no direct causal relationship that has been proven between school shootings and psychiatric drugs. According to Al Knight, what has been said is that the drugs may have either masked a deeper problem or reacted with other factors to produce resulting violence. In short, the school shootings have not been found to be as a direct result of these drugs, and the role they may have played if involved is currently unknown. Notoriety. Shooting massacres in English-speaking countries often occur close together in time. Forensic psychiatrists attribute this to copycat behavior, which can be correlated with the level of media exposure. Some mass murderers study media reports of previous killers. While there has been no evidence of a direct correlation between a desire for infamy and school shootings, but as suggested by Justin Nutt in 2013, those who feel as though they are alone and who feel no one will remember them may seek to be remembered through acts of violence. Nutt explains through the examination of the way in which news exposure is connected not to the victims, but the perpetrators. In an age of internet news and 24-hour news cycle, to avoid doing so would be seen as poor news reporting. But it also means those who feel nameless and as though no one will care or remember them when they are gone may feel doing something such as a school shooting will make sure they are remembered and listed in the history books. Injustice collectors. In a 2015 New Republic essay, Columbine author Dave Cullen described a subset of school shooters known as injustice collectors. The essay described and expanded on the work of retired FBI profiler Mary Ellen O'Toole, who has published a peer-reviewed journal article on the subject. It also quoted Gary Nosner, who helped create and lead the FBI's hostage negotiation unit, and served as chief negotiator for 10 years. Mental illness. The degree to which mental illness does or does not contribute to school shootings has been debated in society. Although the vast majority of mentally ill individuals are non-violent, some evidence has suggested that mental illness or mental health symptoms are nearly universal among school shooters. For example, on April 16, 2007, a Virginia Tech student named Sung Hui Cho shot and killed 32 faculty members and students on the campus and injured 25 more, before taking his own life. For another instance, A 2002 report by the U.S. Secret Service and U.S. Department of Education found evidence that a majority of school shooters displayed evidence of mental health symptoms, often undiagnosed or untreated. Criminologists Fox and Delator note that mental illness is only part of the issue, however, and mass shooters tend to externalize their problems, blaming others, and are unlikely to seek psychiatric help, even if available. Other scholars have concluded that mass murderers display a common constellation of chronic mental health symptoms, chronic anger or antisocial traits, and a tendency to blame others for problems. However, they note that attempting to profile school shooters with such a constellation of traits will likely result in many false positives, as many individuals with such a profile do not engage in violent behaviors. McGinty and colleagues conducted a study to find out if people tended to associate the violence of school shootings with mental illness, at the expense of other factors such as the availability of high-capacity magazines. Nearly 2,000 participants read a news piece on a shooting in which the shooter is diagnosed as having a mental illness and who used high-capacity magazines. One group read an article that presented only the facts of the case. A different group read an article about the same shooting, but in it the author advocated for gun restrictions for people with mental illness. Another group read about the shooting in an article that suggested the proposal to ban large-capacity magazines, which acted to advocate that shootings could stem from a societal problem rather than an individual problem. The control group did not read anything. Participants were then all asked to fill out a questionnaire asking about their views on gun control and whether they thought there should be restrictions on high-capacity magazines. 71% of the control group thought that gun restrictions should be applied to people with mental illness, and nearly 80% of participants who read the articles agreed, despite the fact that the article exposed the readers to both the mental illness of the shooter, and the fact that the shooter used high-capacity magazines. Participants advocated more for gun restrictions on people with mental illness rather than bans on high-capacity magazines. This suggests that people believe mental illness is the culprit for school shootings in lieu of the accessibility of guns or other environmental factors. The authors expressed concern that proposals to target gun control laws at people with mental illness do not take into account the complex nature of the relationship between serious mental illness and violence, much of which is due to additional factors such as substance abuse. However, the link is unclear since research has shown that violence in mentally ill people occur more in interpersonal environments. Notable school shootings. North America. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred at North American schools. United States. Perhaps the earliest school or college shooting in the United States was the Enoch Brown School Massacre, which occurred on July 26, 1764, during the Pontiac's War. More recent school shootings include the 1966 University of Texas Massacre, the 1999 Columbine High School Massacre, the 2007 Virginia Tech Massacre, and the 2012 Sandy Hook Elementary School shooting, the 2013 Arapahoe High School shooting, the 2014 Marysville Pilchuck High School shooting, and most recently the 2015 Umpqua Community College shooting. Canada. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred at Canadian schools. Mexico. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred at schools in Mexico. Europe. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred at schools in the continent of Europe. South America. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred in South American schools. Asia. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred in schools in the continent of Asia. Oceania. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred in Oceanic region. Africa. The following is a list of incidents of shootings that occurred in schools in the continent of Africa. Political impact. School shootings and other mass killings have had a major political impact. Governments have discussed gun control laws, to increase time for background checks, Also, bulletproof school supplies have been created, including backpacks, desks, bullet-resistant door panels, and classroom whiteboards which reinforce walls or slide across doors to deflect bullets. Another organization that has proposed possible solutions to school shootings is the National Rifle Association, to allow teachers to carry weapons on school grounds as a means of protecting themselves and others. So far, 10 states have already introduced legislation to allow weapons on school property, with 18 states already allowing guns to be carried on school grounds, but not without constraints. Most states also require the gun carriers to receive advance permission from the district superintendents or trustees. In New York State, written permission from the school is required in order to carry a firearm on school grounds, due to the political impact. This has spurred some to press for more stringent gun control laws. In the United States, the National Rifle Association is opposed to such laws, and some groups have called for fewer gun control laws, citing cases of armed students ending shootings and halting further loss of life, and claiming that the prohibitions against carrying a gun in schools do not deter the gunman. Better source needed. One such example is the Merkaz Harave massacre, where the attacker was stopped by a student, Yitzhak Daydon, who shot him with his personal firearm which he lawfully carried concealed, at a Virginia law school. There is a disputed claim that 3 students retrieved pistols from their cars and stopped the attacker without firing a shot. Also, at a Mississippi high school, the vice principal retrieved a firearm from his vehicle and then eventually stopped the attacker as he was driving away from the school. In other cases, such as shootings at Columbine and Red Lake high schools, the presence of an armed police officer did little to nothing to prevent the killings. A ban on the ownership of handguns was introduced in the United Kingdom following the Dunblane massacre. The Gun-Free Schools Act was passed in 1994 in response to gun-related violence in schools. As a result of that, a lot of school systems started adopting the zero-tolerance law. The Gun-Free School Act required people to be expelled from the school for a year. By the year of 1997, the zero tolerance for any type of weapon was implemented by more than 90% of U.S. public schools. Police response and countermeasures. Analysis of the Columbine school shooting and other incidents where first responders waited for backup has resulted in changed recommendations regarding what bystanders and first responders should do. An analysis of 84 mass shooting cases in the U.S. from 2000 to 2010 found that the average response time by police was 3 minutes. In most instances, that exceeds the time the shooter is engaged in killing. While immediate action may be extremely dangerous, it may save lives which would be lost if people involved in the situation remain passive, or a police response is delayed until overwhelming force can be deployed. It is recommended that civilians involved in the incident take active steps to flee, hide, or fight the shooter, and that individual law enforcement officers present or first arriving at the scene attempt immediately to engage the shooter. In many instances, immediate action by civilians or law enforcement has saved lives.